All right, so we are kind of continuing the theme here. So during COVID, when I was at Microsoft, we had been asked to do a lot of production with a lot of, in that case, team sources. That's not going to be representative of who's on this panel, but come on up, folks. This particular session is an interesting one to me because this is a real thing for a lot of your companies that are here. Events at scale, powering high volume content through large scale experiences. Looking forward to hearing what y'all have to say.
Great. Well, how's everyone doing this afternoon? Good? Yay. Excellent. I'm Sherry Huss, and I'm here from Freeman, and I am stepping in as moderator of this panel. It is Events at Scale, and we're going to talk a little bit today with this great panel about how they're managing this, how they're looking at content engines, how they're handling very large events and every component of it. And to get started, maybe we'll just go down the line and you can introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about what you're doing and what you're thinking about, and then we'll take it from there.
Hello, everyone. Jeff Griffith with Wagner. I've been there for about 3 or 4 years, and before that I was with the Miami Dolphins for about 25 years, and doing video production, broadcasting, streaming, the gamut, obviously events, and now we're on world-class events.
I'm Jim Vastola. I'm with Robinhood. I'm the AV and event production manager, specializing in the off-site sort of high-risk, large-scale events. Before that, I was Google for about 15 years and freelance technical director for a large event for another 20 years. So.
I'm Lisa Riday from Salesforce. I oversee our hybrid and virtual event broadcast production team. We produce content primarily for Salesforce Plus, our streaming platform, and we've had a big focus this past year on creating more cohesion across our other social channels, so where we stream, how we track business impact, and how we leverage our content and storytelling to be dynamic and accessible on those other channels. We produced at Dreamforce this past year over 96 hours of streaming content. We had 36,000, or over 50% of our attendees share on Salesforce Plus, and we reached over 34 million social views of our main keynote across social channels.
Hello, Brendan Ittelson. I'm the Chief Ecosystem Officer at Zoom. I've been with the company for about 10 years now, and in that role, I'm responsible for helping put Zoom into folks' workflows, and really how do we embed Zoom not just as a tool, but in folks' natural form of work, so that people are able to get things done and it's seamless. I come from a broadcast background, so I love this industry, and we've been doing a big focus in this area in the last few years.
Great, thank you all. So Jeff, let's start with you. So Wagner, you've been producing over 40 plus Super Bowls. You've been involved in the Olympics. And what have you found as far as managing content? How are things changed, and how does it affect your workflow, and anything you can share?
Well, for the large-scale events, Wagner's been involved in the in-venue, not just the broadcast. Obviously, we're working with the broadcast and the in-venue entertainment and all that, but we're producing all the content for the in-venue for the Super Bowl, and it starts off, I don't know if we want to start where it's come from. You had a dot matrix board, light bright, basically. And then that turned into a 4x3 video board, and that's turned into an HD board, oversized board, to ribbon boards, to fascia boards, audio systems, and all that. And so basically what it ends up where we're coming to now is it's an open canvas. So you almost have to treat it as you're an artist. How are you going to paint your picture? How are you going to tell your story? And for the fans, for your customers, anything like that, it's really you're the storyteller in your environment. And I think that's where it's kind of grown to.
There you go. Thank you. So Jim,
I'm sorry, one more thing.
Okay.
The biggest
okay. And the biggest thing.
The biggest thing too is the difference between in-venue and broadcast is broadcast will have announcers. They'll have a play-by-play, they'll have an analyst, they'll have a sideline reporter. In-venue, will not. So that's where you have to overindulge, overcreate to tell that story without somebody telling it for you.
Good, thanks for that addition. So Jim, at Robinhood, you shared with me that you've got over 20 plus million virtual attendees, a few hundred in-person attendees. And how do you, and that 20 plus million is over like a 72-hour period, which is pretty amazing.
Recording in progress.
How do you make sure that the story that you're sharing with these audiences makes sense to both in-person and the virtual folks?
Yeah, no, that's a constant tug of war that we have. And just even this morning, I had a conversation with the production company and with the marketing team about, well, are these monitors going to look good on camera for the web stream? Are they going to be a good balance for the audience in the room? We don't want the stage too cluttered, yada, yada. And you just have to sort of keep pounding at it and remember that you've got 21 million pairs of eyes watching on live and VOD, and you've got 200 eyes in the room, and your historic attention is usually on the live audience, the people in the room, because they're the people you can see and feel and hear, and that's what at least I'm used to in my career. But you need I need to stop and say, okay, I'm going to get a director whose sole eyes are on the web stream. He doesn't care what's going on in the room. I worry about the stage, make sure the stage is taken care of. And the in-room experience is a hybrid of the two of us working together to make sure that the message is delivered, the demos are delivered, the products are announced, etc.
Great, thank you. So Lisa, I think you mentioned 96 hours of content. Is that right, at a Salesforce event? How do you even manage actually, I mean, you're a huge content engine. I mean, this is something that's been fairly new for events, maybe since COVID, right? That all of a sudden this is becoming a major part of what you're doing. I can't even imagine the back end like cross collaboration between everyone trying to get their content out there, and then everything from metrics and measuring ROI. Like, how do you even put your arms around that?
So we have very tight alignment with our product marketing team. So all major announcements from launches, news, major happenings at Salesforce cascade down from product marketing. So there's always really clear agreement on what our core priorities are. Now, in our experience, every platform has its own purpose and audiences. So for us, for instance, for Salesforce Plus, historically, we've been tasked with creating content for more of a specific audience, practitioners, while other teams or channels had their own objectives and target audiences. And we've worked over the past year to break down what were once silos to have more cohesion and more strategy across the channels. So for instance, at Dreamforce this past year, we were tasked with expanding this practitioner audience. So we worked very closely with our social teams to use our content in more dynamic ways on the social channels. So whatever we capture at our broadcast, making it snackable, short, vertical, social first, and then drive back to Salesforce Plus for that deeper engagement. So the idea was using the different channels to capture and then pull back. And we've had some really great synergies, and we've continued to talk to them in more dynamic ways to have more cohesion and throughputs of the storytelling across the channels.
Interesting. This is sort of off question here, or off topic, but your Trailblazer community, how do you integrate that? I think that's a really super unique program that Salesforce has.
Yeah, I mean, they're a core, our Trailblazer and that community is a core audience. They tend to have a lot of their own channels. So just like all of the different channels, we're working collaboratively with the content we produce to make sure it gets on their channels. We work very closely with them on our content development and the distribution of the content in meaningful ways for them to hit their audiences.
Yeah, I think that's really smart. So Brendan, with Zoom, so you're kind of a very large-scale content and events and creative platform. Can you maybe share, I think that you did something with Tony Robbins recently. How do you even put your arms around that and kind of get that kicked off and launched?
Yeah, this is one of the things that's so special for me at Zoom. We're not just the platform where people come to view an event, but we're actually the infrastructure that helps make it happen. For that Tony Robbins event, they came to us going, we want to do an event that's highly engaging. We've got people from around the world with artists that we want to have participate. We want to have audience engagement. How do we blend the physical studio with the online community and bring that all together as one? And that's where we went in and looked at how can our technology help enable that. So we had viewers joining through our webinar platform. We had remote artists coming in over our meetings so that they could contribute to the song that was being enabled. But to your point earlier about how do you do the in-person and the virtual, we were also doing things where there were large video walls where the remote audience was there on screen and at a point where anyone on stage could actually interact with any of those virtual participants and have that real-time dialogue, as well as build off of that energy by having the emojis and the reactions coming from that online audience fill it. And then with all this tied in with the donation platform that was right there for everyone to be able to help the cause together. So it's becoming more than just video delivery, but how do we tie the audience, whether in person or remote, all together and use our technology to help enable that and get the right content in the right format, in the right delivery method to make the creative experience that they want to have possible.
How long does it take from, start to, or when you start the creative concept to when the event starts? Just giving us kind of a rough time frame.
It's a wide range, and
Okay.
what's really exciting for me is the way that we've built our tools is that they're flexible. And so we've always gone, how do we make it simple so that a solopreneur that wants to get their message out can get up and running within minutes? But when you talk about large scales events, we can go directly into the workflows that they're using already. We're embedded in the switcher, we're embedded in the graphics engine, so that adding our technology is not an additional burden. They're normal workflow and time panels. It's normal and it's in the natural flow of work, but you're getting this rich additional content and data and media to create this more engaging experience.
Great, thank you. Back to Jeff. So I believe there's probably a lot of content creators and producers in the room. What advice do you have to them, or how can they get that Super Bowl type energy into the events and projects that they're creating?
Well, you're building memories and you're telling your story. So you're taking a event and I don't know, like for a Super Bowl or anything like that, you're creating that and you want to just bring it into, the event room. And I always pull up a quote from Ed Sable, and I'll read it, who is the head of NFL Films. Tell me a fact and I'll learn. Tell me the truth and I'll believe. But tell me a story and it'll live in my heart forever. And that's kind of how we treat the events. And when we deal with corporations or anything else, it comes down to, this is your brand. This is, what do you want to project? And it's more than just saying, this is the direction we're going to. You're telling the story and you're making it stay in, whether it's the customers, your employees, anything, for a long time. And then now you can bring in a lot of fun and activities, as we were saying, emojis. You can bring in selfie cam. You can liven it up with a DJ. But we're not just playing music. You don't just have a playlist. You want a score. You want effects. Those will help. Again, it's just you're creating an environment that's just institutional learning, and it's going to stay with you. And that's kind of what we want to do. You make it fun, energetic, lively, and you learn. You get the message across, and you move on.
Great, thank you. Jim, so how closely do your in-house producers and marketing team work with external partners on everything from content creation, scripting, creative? How does that work?
Yeah, so at the beginning of the year, we sort of established a basic inventory of events we're going to do over the course of that year. And we sort of peel off X number of events that go through a management company, a production company. And of course, they tend to be the bigger events, the larger budget events, the larger audience events. And then sort of the next tier down are events that are handled in-house by my team and the in-house marketing team and whatnot. And I wish I could say there was a beautiful formula that we use or some metric that we use that says, hey, this is how we do it. And honestly, it's a lot about tradition and it's a lot about complexity, right? Like the earnings calls, my team runs the earnings calls, right? They're full multi-camera switch earnings calls. They're on Zoom, they're on YouTube. My team and the marketing team, we get together, we do it. We did one at Chase Center the other day. Those take just as much collaboration with the marketing team and the content teams as the production company events, but the production company events then pulls all the heavy lifting of doing the rigging plots and doing the lighting designs and all that. And I go from leading and driving to simply approving, and there's 4 or 5 people whose jobs change from leading and driving to approving things that the production company are doing. So it gives us the flexibility to run at a very lean team. My team is me and 2 other guys. It goes from a very lean team up to a very large production team when we got a large production company involved.
Nice, thank you. Lisa, you've got at Salesforce, you obviously have to tell Salesforce stories, but you also have partners.
Yeah, don't worry.
And I imagine that's something that you've got to figure out. How do you weave into not only the Salesforce story, but make sure it's complementary and,
I'm done emceeing at
again, also have the challenge of telling their story. How do you do that, or do you have some examples?
Well, I'll lean into, customer storytelling is a core part of Salesforce's marketing, and it's at the heart of all of our marketing. Customer success is one of our core values, so that's one of our most critical parts of what we're trying to convey with whether it's an event, marketing, a broadcast. So specifically at our large events, customers are featured throughout all of our marketing. They're featured prominently in our keynote, in our expos. The customers are on site. They're in breakouts, theaters, et cetera, throughout the event. So then on our broadcast, we will always invite as many customers as possible to come sit down and have a conversation, talk about their instance of Salesforce, Agentforce. We feature everyone from a CEO, if we can get the CEO to stop by the broadcast desk and have a conversation, all the way down to a practitioner at a customer company who will come and sit down in one of our virtual hands-on trainings. So we do these Zoom-style virtual hands-on training that we broadcast to get really deep and technical into the learning, and we will invite customers to come there and tell their day-to-day implementation stories at a deeper level. So customers are one of the biggest part of our storytelling.
No, that's great, and I imagine they also pushed the content out through their channels too, I would think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
so we're always working with them to provide the clips and whatnot so they can push it out across their socials as well.
Great. So that actually is another great kind of tip for any of you that are thinking about this, but how can you actually get your story amplified? And that's a wonderful way. Brendan, I think Zoom recently won an Emmy for your technology, and maybe you can share a little bit about what that means, why it's important, and how the creators and producers in the room can take advantage of your tech.
Well, thank you. We were truly honored to receive this recognition, especially after the investments that we've been making in this area. And when I look at what got us started on this journey is how do we empower the creator community to be as creative as they want to be and leverage our technology to make that possible. And so when I look at the heart of what the Emmy was awarded for, it was how do we bring our cloud distribution technology that can do remote contribution, but can do it at scale. We have customers that are doing 20,000 remote streams and putting that on video walls behind their presenters to create these amazing rich, interactive sessions. And so being able to do that and create that capability, but doing it in the workflows that those creators are already used to. They might be using NDI, they might be using SRT, they might have Zoom now embedded in their switcher, or they might be using MXL. On all these things, we want to meet our technical teams, our creative teams, where they are in their flow of work, and make it that Zoom is just another source that they can use to scale up to make their creative vision possible. Because it's all about creating this amazing content that can be used across all these channels, and we're there at a medium to help make that possible.
Nice. So let's open it up. AI, how is it, how are you using it? How is it impacting your workflows, your creativity, engagement with customers and partners, and open to all?
AI is naturally a big investment in Zoom. We started as a video company, and now really our focus is being an AI company. And it's taking the rich content that we have and using the AI to enable those use cases, whether that's being able to do the meeting transcripts and summaries with action items, or making content more accessible with real-time translation. Another thing that we see that I think is very apropos to this audience is the ability to take long format sessions and automatically break those into very focused clips so that you can do distribution there to those audience. How do you do that volume at scale? AI is key to helping making that possible.
I piggyback. We have some similar use cases there where we're testing using some of the AI editing to break down into clips. The productivity, we use Slack. We're a Slack company, so there's a lot of new ways that we're using Slack to help us with, day-to-day productivity. I will say there across our broadcast and how we do our demand generations efforts this past year, we used our own Salesforce technology, Data Cloud 360 and Agentforce, to help us create really strong precision and scalability in our targeting and segmenting of our events and experiences, so both broadcast and in person. So really, I think the metric was what was taking analysts around, multiple people, 3 months of deep analysis, getting, attendee information, behaviors, historical data, business goals, analyzing it over 3 months has been distilled down to about 3 days, and it's highly precise, and we're seeing incredible impact and results from this use case of Salesforce technology.
Well, and is Agentforce your AI component? Okay, just to clarify that. Great, thanks.
So interestingly enough, clips is a big thing for us too. We go to do these events, and the crew's out working hard, and they get in the next morning and they've got 20 requests for 30-second clips from the previous day's events, and there's 3 of us, and I don't edit, so there's 2 guys that are sitting here trying to knock these things out. So we're in process, but we're working on basically a ticketing system that says, pull this clip from when Vlad says this to that, and give it to me in this format, and send it back to the user. So not working yet, but we're working on it.
That's nice.
And we're really the same. Editing clips, rendering, storyboard, writing, copywriting.
I can imagine storyboard would be super useful.
Yeah. Especially when you're dealing with, like we said, the platforms are so large, it's sometimes you can't just put up a picture.
Right.
You really have to envision, okay, where is this going? Because it could be like in an end zone is one thing, and then it morphs into something else as it goes down the sideline, as an example.
So one of the questions that that I have here is this all sounds wonderful. And when it works, and when it doesn't, well, we iterate and we figure it out. Are there any stories that anyone wants to share when it didn't go as planned, and how you recovered?
I think we could probably all agree the biggest one is COVID. That didn't go too well, and especially in an event business where now all of a sudden everything's shut down. Fair enough. But because of that, for Van Wagner, we developed 3 new businesses. And so the NFL came to us and said, all right, we have the NFL draft. We're not canceling it. How do we do this? Basically, stealing like a Zoom method, we did all the remote work and Mr. Goodell was down in his basement during that time, and we had all the players remote, we had the players' families, the coaches, all that, and that was our new tech division now. From that, it developed into a broadcast division because we're like, well, wait a second, can we take a platform like Zoom and elevate it? Not that Zoom needs to be elevated, but we'll elevate it to a broadcast quality. So now all of a sudden you have an event, you want it streamed. Now we're putting in, all sorts of graphics, music, lower thirds, wipes, QR codes for people to ask questions to the moderator, all that. And then from that, obviously, that stemmed into Van Wagner X, which is our events division. And so it happened, good things happened.
There you go. Any other stories to share?
I mean, COVID was a funky time for Salesforce. It's such a strong events-led marketing organization. So yeah, it was definitely an inflection point. We always had a broadcast piece of our events, but it was just completely changed during COVID as we brainstormed and got creative and innovative on how we bring our events into a digital experience. And so, we brought over some great media people, news writers. We have an Emmy Award-winning executive producer who writes for us now. I have team members here. We created the broadcast team that is now in existence. So it was definitely a huge point for us. And as I was explaining to you earlier, now it's a key driver of our event goals. And we've found so much success with the format and the formula we've been doing that our executive teams have seen the impact that it brings to our audience and marketing goals.
I mean, one of the things after COVID too is you all have these new teams now, like your data teams, right? That are probably have new ideas on what you should be capturing and what your metrics are. I mean, that's actually kind of another new thing, for better or worse. But Brendan or Jim, any other comments?
Nothing in particular. There is one thing that I found fascinating when I've only been at Robinhood about 9 months now, but the added pressure of SEC filings in the event of a failure of a earnings call is whether it's within a delivery platform or a microphone that's not working, you find yourself answering to the SEC, which is something I'd never come across before.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Which is their Super Bowl.
Oh, exactly. Yes. Yes. Well, and I always teach my teams, look, every event we do, no matter how big or how small, is somebody's Super Bowl. It's either the CEO's Super Bowl or it's the admin Super Bowl that's been asked to do their first event for a VP or something. And we approach it that way and treat everybody like a CEO, treat every event like a Super Bowl.
No, fair enough.
Well, I think that rings very true, and that's how we look at it at Zoom. Every call is a critical call. It is important for someone, and that's where we spend so much of our time going, how do we make the technology just work? How do we have the infrastructure behind the scenes that can fail over seamlessly and mask over all those little things that go behind the scenes that we've all seen in production, but make sure that folks are able to continue to tell their story. And if that's the earning call, if that is a big sporting event, or if it is someone that is just starting out and trying to get their message, we want to make sure that it is just so seamless to them and has been built behind the scenes to scale and support that.
Yeah, and this whole convergence of AV and broadcast that's going on, right? For years, I just did AV, and you didn't have backups for everything. You didn't have redundant power supplies and everything. Right now, everything's redundant, and when I push the button, it switches. It's not push it, 2, 3, 4, go. And those are the kinds of, that's the evolution that happens when you start going up to this scale and that kind of high-risk environment.
Great. Well, I'm going to say thank you all for being here, because I know that your jobs are really important and there's a lot going on. This year's already, it's hard to believe January is already over, but these folks will be around if you have any questions. Please feel free to ask them. And anyone want any parting thoughts or advice or a killer strategy that you wish someone would have told you before we exit?
You never know where the next great idea is going to come from. I will say we did a football game in Germany. And they said, let's do a sing-along. And we literally looked up Oktoberfest songs, and Country Roads popped up on that list.
Ah,
And we're like, Country Roads in Germany? We played it, and you'll see it on commercials now. It's
I love it.
you know, so you never know where an idea comes from.
Go John Denver, big in Germany. Anyone else before we exit? Well, thank you. Again, doing events at large scale, these folks are all innovators. No one gave them a playbook. They're kind of creating it as they go. So please do say hello and thank them. And thank you all.